Hallotjes everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Lalaine Adanna. And if you're new here, hallo, hoe gaat het? Gezellig dat je er bent. Some things are blocked. I already told you in one of my previous videos, but I also really want to make true crime videos. And when I was searching for these videos on the internet, I didn't really found anyone covering the stories from the Netherlands, and I was born on Curacao, and when I said that when I was younger, people were like, isn't that where a lot of criminals are coming from? So I really want to cover most of Europe, especially the Netherlands, and also where I come from, the Caribbean islands. Like it used to be the Dutch Netherlands Antilles, but they changed it so it's Curacao again. But yeah, I'm just really intrigued by true crime stories. I basically grew up with true crime. If you hear something my cat is trying to eat, have his dinner, couldn't you wait, Scowl? So I just don't really have someone to share it with besides my parents. So I just really wanted to make these videos because I also think it's very important to talk about these cases, and I love to hear other people, their opinion about them. And yeah, I just hope you like this series from now on. So if you haven't subscribed to Queen Mazikeen, please feel free to do so. I'm really gonna try to make more videos because hello, it's not pretty recent and frequent, and I know that, and I'm really trying my best. But yeah, I was really bummed out that a lot of movie reviews or movie commentaries that I couldn't do anymore. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to see what I can do and then do the true crime videos on this channel. So the case we're gonna talk about today is Anne Faber. It is a Dutch case. It is a pretty recent case, and I want to do this case because it stirred a lot of souls. There are a lot of things that just didn't go very well. A lot of mistakes were made, and a lot of things are fishy, and I really want to talk to you guys about this. The trigger warning that I have for this case is that there is rape involved in multiple scenarios. So if you can't take any stories with rape in it, please don't watch it. Go to the next video. Anne Faber was born on the 15th of December in 1991, same year as me, in the Netherlands. She was a young, ambitious woman and very creative. She was super social intelligent, and she was very direct. You could almost call it like feisty. Like she had like this fire inside of her, and she did like tons of things. Like there was nothing that she couldn't do. She would take it upon herself, and she would just make sure that she would get it done. If there was something that she wanted, she got it. She was the kind of woman who would not take no for an answer. If something was on her mind, she would just straight up tell you, and I love it when people can just be direct. She was also known for being sarcastic and have dry humor, as we call it here. I have no idea if that's the same in the rest of the world, but if you're just like super sarcastic but almost cynical, it's really dry, but at the same time super funny. She was also someone who was almost like a mediator. Like she would make sure that everybody got along, didn't step out of line, and she was super loved for all of these things that I just said by her friends and family. At a certain point in her life, her parents got divorced, and instead of just crying by herself, she just took it upon herself to take care of her younger brother, as in, you know, trying to question him about things of school and basically trying to distract him. So she basically put her own feelings aside and tried to be like the big sister, like I got it and we got this and we're gonna go through this as a family. After she broke off an education in Amsterdam, she went for the business economics. After she gets her bachelor for that, she goes and moves to Utrecht where she studies, or better say, she took a master in culture, economics and entrepreneurship. She really wanted to be like a director, like a manager, like a leading lady. When she also got her master, she finally knew what she wanted, and she knew that she wanted to be like a director of a museum. That was her big goal. A friend of her mom offered Anna a job in one of his museums, and Anna was like, thank you, but I have bigger goals. She was dreaming about taking upon the position in a museum in New York. She also had a boyfriend, but he didn't really want to come in the media, so I couldn't really find anything about him. But what was stated about the relationship was that he got in an accident and she had to take care of him, and sometimes that was pretty hard for her. So she would just go and ride on a bike to, you know, balance herself out and just ground herself again and just have a fresh mind. And for all people that don't know, like here in Holland, it's a very common thing to have a bike. Like I don't have a bike, and when I say that, people just look at me like, like I'm from another planet. That's how common it is to have a bike. So she really loved it. She would just go and ride around and then, you know, come back with fresh energy, and she could take up on the world. Like, she was so ambitious that I do think she really needed this moment. On the 29th of September in 2017, she also goes outside. It was raining that day, it was storming that day, but clearly she was just like, I just need to clear my mind. She was at her boyfriend's house and she went on her bike and she just drove around. She had a pretty decent bike, so when she didn't return home, people started to worry, but they were like, maybe she just hung out with a friend, maybe she stopped by somewhere, so they didn't think about the worst case scenario. Anna had an appointment on the Saturday, because this was on a Friday the 29th of September. So when she didn't show up on her appointment the next day, people seriously started to worry, like, where the F is Anna? So they hold out a search party. They went searching with everybody, friends, family, neighbors. Everybody got out of their own way and searched in the whole area. They knew what kind of route she was taking most of the time, so they just tried to track that route again and just tried to comb out all the areas that she might have been, but nobody found anything. Little did the family know that on the 29th of September, Anna met Michael P, and that was going to be one of the most horrible encounters ever. So this is where a lot of things went wrong, but I found it super interesting to go back to find out who this Michael P guy is and just find out what went wrong, because I don't follow the news, I don't watch it. My dad hates me for it. I'm sorry, disappointed much, I know, but I just can't deal with how stories are brought, so I just rather read a newspaper than the TV. When I looked into this case, there were a lot of fishy things, like a lot of mistakes were made, and I really want to share that side of the story so you will get the whole picture of what happened and what went wrong and what could have possibly be prevented. And my voice went off because I'm like, whoa, that is like a big statement to make, but that is just my personal opinion. And let's just dive into the Michael P story. So on the 5th of May in 1990, Michael is being born in Amersfoort. He's growing up in this loving family, tight family, and he has one thing not going for him, and that is that he has an eye dysfunction. He is cross-eyed and kids in school are bullying him for it. I thought that little kids were always angels, but it seems that people are always bullied, like in middle school. I have no idea who teaches these little angels to be freaking devils and spread their horns around, but okay. So Michael was not doing great in school. He also really didn't give a shit, so he started to work in his dad's company at a very young age, and he met a guy there who was a truck driver, and he really looked up to him and he befriended him and they became close friends. He also became later on a suspect in the case that I'm going to talk about. And around the same time, Michael also got into a relationship. So Michael really wanted to become a truck driver. It was his big dream. So he really went for his driver's license and he was just like ready to take on that life because he was really into it. Psych. Because of his eye dysfunction, he got declined. They were like, bye-bye, we can't take you on as a truck driver. So his dream was basically crushed. The friendship that he had with the truck driver, however, still stayed strong because they really bonded over cars and motorcycles and racing, and they loved to swear and talk big things and pretending that they were all that is what his lawyer later stated. So the two bros love hanging out, and they eventually start just driving around like having no purpose at all, and eventually they start to use cocaine and they're like, whoa, this is amazing. So they start to use cocaine while driving around. Michael really looked up to his friend. Like, in his eyes, his friend had it all. And since Michael's life was not really going into the direction that he really wanted, he was just like holding on to his friend. So on the 9th of April in 2010, Michael and his friend are going again for that driving around, and they decide to rob two guys in the streets. They were both under the influence of cocaine. They felt really tough. It also worked, so they felt extra tough. They were like, yes, we got this. We're gonna rob more people because this is clearly our thing. So they kept on continuing robbing innocent people randomly on the street. So on the 3rd of April, which is now King's Day here, but it used to be Queen's Day. So in 2010, that was Queen's Day. Michael and his friend again decide to just drive around. And there's this party going on in this barn in Luxor in a Nijkerk, and two girls are leaving the party and they're sitting on a bench just talking to each other. Michael and his friend go up to them. Michael starts talking to them first and then starts to threaten them and then forces them into the bushes, where he later rapes them both. Later on, it stated that Michael said that he would love to know what it's like to rape a girl, that he was fantasizing about raping women, but that he never thought about what it could cost someone if he would do so. No comment. But at that same night, when he raped those two girls, he just went on with his life like nothing really happened, and they robbed more people. So in the timeline after these crimes, Michael is getting in a really worse state, like he's suicidal, he doesn't want to live anymore. In Dutch we would say like he's really in a knot with himself, like he doesn't know what to do with himself. But not even after a month when they committed those horrible crimes, they just get back to the old habit of driving around using drugs while doing so. The lawyer of Michael later stated that Michael had the below average intellect and that his behavior looked a lot like a teenager. Well, I don't know about you, but I hope that teenagers out there are not thinking about raping and robbing people. So to me, that's a weird statement to make, but I'm not his lawyer. His lawyer also stated that there was no lead to say that Michael had any mental issues or disorders going on, but that when he committed those crimes, he was under the influence of drugs. So that's what was causing him to do all these crimes or commit to these crimes. Well, I don't know about you, but drugs can only enhance what you already want to do or what you already think. I don't think you can blame drugs for doing horrible things. You already have to have something like that inside. But again, I'm not the lawyer, so this is just what the internet says. So later on in life, Michael's being hospitalized in the Peter Baan Center because they really want to observe him after these crimes. The doctor said that Michael was self-absorbed and that he showed no empathy whatsoever. But when Michael went to trial for the crimes that he committed for raping those girls and robbing those people, he stated that he felt sorry for what he did and that he never thought that he would cause people so much trouble, and that he would hope that they would get back on their feet and learn to trust people again, and that he hopes that they will get on with their lives. Well, I don't know who told him to tell this, but you first tell me that he shows no empathy and then he comes up with this. If I would be one of those parents, I would be like. He also said that he wanted to go to rehab, that he wanted to get rid of drugs, get on with his life. He bought a house, so he really wanted to spend his lovey-dovey life with his girlfriend, and this is Kau, and he really wants to join into the video, as you can see. Michael said, and I quote, "A bright future was waiting for him." But after the trial, the girlfriend of Michael is like, I think I'm gonna go. And she breaks the relationship off, so he has to sell the house. So while he is in jail, he's not using drugs, allegedly. We never know. I can tell you that the jails here in Holland are like hotels. Like, a lot of people are living their best life. They get all the things that they want. So please don't think that this is like on the other side of the world where people are like sleeping with like 20 people on like a mattress and having a horrible time. They don't. And I saw with my own eyes that someone who was in an isolation cell got drugs just to calm him down. So, allegedly, we say. Okay. So his lawyer shares that his client doesn't want to have to do anything with drugs. He really wants to go to rehab. He doesn't want to get into any trouble with the police anymore. He wants to better his life. But in the appeal, Michael is sentenced for 12 years in prison, with like the last part he has to go to forensic division to, you know, steam him ready for going back into society. They want to bring him to Den Dolder where he can follow this project. But on the 8th of October in 2017, he's being brought in by the police. I thought he wanted to better his life, but we're gonna get into it more. In 2011, Michael was being hospitalized in an institution in Roermond. Michael asked for a transfer to the jail in Vught, and he said he had two really good reasons. One was that his family didn't have to travel that far if they wanted to visit him, and two, he wanted to get help with his anger issues and his drug abuse, and he heard that in Vught, in that jail, they had the best help ever. And everybody was just like, yeah, we totally believe you. That's a really good idea. We're gonna listen to a criminal this time. So in 2013, these puppets transferred him to the jail in Vught. But instead of putting him in the heavily guarded ward where he should have been, they put him in the psychiatric department. Again, something very fishy. This doesn't add up. And why did they do this, would you ask? They did this because Michael didn't want to talk about his sexuality and the crimes that he committed. So they were like, let's just put him in the psychiatric department. So now that he's being transferred, they want to observe him again. They really want to have the best diagnosis ever right now, because the first tries were like a big miss and they still don't have a real diagnosis about Michael. So they just start all over again, like from the beginning. Let's go. So it seems that Michael has a personality disorder which is depending on cocaine and speed. I already stated that I don't believe that you commit whatever you do or you are whoever you are based on drugs, but it can enhance what you already have. So in my opinion, he had a personality disorder with or without the drugs. The drugs only enhanced what he already had inside of him. But that is my opinion. I would love to hear yours. After the observation, they also stated that he was sensitive and that he was also sensitive to his surrounding. It almost sounds like he's an empath, but bro, we cannot be in the same team, no. And because he was sensitive to his environment and everything happening around him, he couldn't defend himself, so he just slipped into it and committed these crimes. But while Michael is in Vught, and didn't I tell you earlier that he really wanted to get into rehab and get rid of drugs and getting his life back together? He is using drugs. He's also using Ritalin. He is just taking it like it's a drug. And Ritalin is known for the drug for people with ADHD. I don't think they diagnosed him with ADHD, so I also don't think or understand how he got to the Ritalin, but okay. He's also threatening like the people around him, the people that work there, and like violently. It's not just threatening them like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, he's in their faces. He's also showing sexual inappropriate behavior towards people there, other clients, and also caretakers. And he's using a lot of violence. They decide to punish him whenever he does so. And do you know what they did? They put him in an isolation cell for 6 to 7 days, and then sometimes without TV. Shock. Like, I'm being super sarcastic right now because I can understand that we have prisons and institutions here, and I already shared with you that I saw with my own eyes. I was standing in that isolation cell and I saw them giving the drugs to one of my clients, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? That's the same with this. Like, oh, no TV for you. How come you have a TV in an isolation cell? What makes this isolation cell an isolation cell if you give these people like things to play with and look at? Just, whew. I don't understand. Please explain to me if you understand this, because I don't. I can't. So in his first week in the Indolter, they have this 4 method or treatment plan, and they have to go through all the 4 courses, and they forget to do one on him. One of these methods is to see if the patient has any tendencies to use sexual inappropriate behavior or can be really violent. They don't use this method on him. Again, another big mistake. I don't know why you have this plan if you don't use your plan. Why? Plus, before Michael got into the new clinic, he already appealed for some freedom, and he gets it. It is granted. They grant him before they discussed it with other parties. And if a client wants to have some freedom after they came from jail, they first have to go through all these institutions. They have to discuss with each other if it's okay for him or her to go back in society. They just skip that step and they were just like, yes, you can go. You can go outside. You can have some freedom. So after 4 months, when Michael is in a new clinic, he started to date a new woman, and they're getting back together, break up, get back together. It is like a roller coaster, and it's having a lot of negative influence on everybody around it because Michael is getting stressed because of this situation. Eventually, the woman that he is dating or breaking up with constantly is getting pregnant, but she doesn't want Michael to be involved, and he is getting so pissed and so stressed over this situation that the caretakers don't know what to do. Again, this is something that is not stated in the reports, which should have been. I don't know about you, but if you're a caretaker, you always have to make a daily report on your client or your clients, and it is super hard to do. I had to do it as well, but you have to do it every single freaking day. And especially if things like this are happening, like people are being involved, people are not comfortable around this situation, and you're not stating it because, again, another one. So since Michael is free as a bird, he wants to become a gardener. He is also allowed to sleep out on the weekends. He is free. Well, he's not typically free, but he's free on the weekends. And he is free to go to school to his new education. So we're getting closer to the time where Anna went missing. And I'm gonna quote a certain things that they wrote about Michael at this time in his report. So on the 29th of September, they wrote, "He looks well and is happily present." On the 30th of September, "Joyful." On the 1st of October, "Everything is alright." On the 2nd of October, "He was right on time, back from his leave, and is totally relaxed." On the 3rd of October, he went to school, relaxed, and came back the same way from school. So around the 4th of October, that's when his behavior is changing. This is around the same time where they think he moved the body of Anna. This is 5 days after the murder happened. Michael doesn't show up for dinner this night. So the caretakers probably were like, where the F is Michael? We know we gave him freedom, but he should be here for dinner. Then at 10 o'clock in the evening, Michael is calling. He stated that he is in Amsterdam, that he used cocaine, that he slipped again, and that he's coming back. So that same night, Michael's mom is dropping him off at the clinic, and she's noticing that he has some red stripes in his neck. And when she asks about him, he's just like, yeah, that's from gardening. You know, I got the new education. It was just some branches. Well, I don't know what kind of branches you went up to, but that just doesn't make any sense to me. Side note, a lot of times when people are like addicts, people are like, oh yeah, well, because people use, that's the reason why. But people never really sit down and really look at someone. That is something that I've noticed. They all just want to blame it on your addiction or blame it on that character flaw or whatever. But you didn't notice something wrong about this Nobody did, clearly, because he was such a model patient. So let's continue with the story. So the clinic doesn't know what to do with him around this time. They're like, what should we do? Should we punish him? And then they're like, no, we're gonna give him a warning. The warning doesn't have any effect on Michael, and on the 9th of October, he's being arrested and brought in by the police. So I already shared with you that on the 29th of September, Anne Faber went missing when she was driving around on her bike. This is in the area of Soest, and if you know like the big places, this is in the same area of Utrecht. So she rides on her bike from Utrecht to Lage Vuursche, through Baarn, and through Soest in the direction of Den Dolder. At around 6:50 p.m. in the evening, she's sending her last selfie to her boyfriend. And that is also the last time that her phone was traceable. So when she didn't come home that night, her family starts to worry. Maybe she hung out with a friend. I already told you that she was very ambitious, and they were always worrying that she was like holding up too, yeah, that's a typical Dutch thing to say, like holding too many balls in the air. It means that you're like juggling, like, oh, keep it up, keep it right. She was doing a lot of stuff, so they just tried everything. They tried to call everyone. They tried to call the boyfriend, like, isn't she coming home yet? And he was just like, she is not here. So all her family and her friends and neighbors organized a search party. They went looking on the 30th of September. The search party was being held until the 12th of October. It took the police and 65 military officers to go and look for her. So it took them a few days. But I'm glad that her family already went looking for her days before that. So on the 3rd of October, they found her jacket. On the 5th of October, they found her bike. And on the 6th of October, they found her backpack. On the 8th of October, the forensic department stated that the DNA on the jacket was from someone, a 27-year-old male who should have been in a clinic in Den Dolder. This is also the same time where her family is just like driving around still looking for her. And I saw in one interview that her uncle drove by this clinic and that he already got this feeling like something horribly went wrong, especially when they found her stuff. So they look into this guy, this 27-year-old male who should have been in the clinic, and they see that he should have been imprisoned, but his DNA is on her jacket. So the next day, the 27-year-old male, aka Michael P., was being arrested as a suspect in the case of Anne Faber. On the 11th of October, he confessed everything, but I do have to say that he changed his story constantly. But the day after the 11th, they found her body because he told them where he buried her. They found her body in Horswold. This is in a recreation area in Zeewolde. The autopsy showed that there was a lot of violence being used on her body while she was still alive. When Michael P. confessed, he said that he and Anne bumped into each other. She was driving on her bike or riding a bike and he was on a scooter. And he said that she wanted to call the police because she wanted to report it, but that he freaked out because he had no insurance for his scooter. He grabbed her phone and he destroyed it. When they asked him about the stuff that he was carrying with himself that night, even though he said that he was not planning on doing any of these things that he did, he said that he was going to work with his tools on a kitchen or in the clinic, but he was carrying tie ribs, and I don't know if that's the good translation, but that's what I could find. We call it tie ribs. It's like that rib thing, and once you pull it through the hole, you can take it off without using scissors or a knife. But after he destroyed her phone, he forced her to walk farther into the woods and climb over a fence. He then raped her in multiple ways. He tied her hands, put her on the back of his scooter, and drove further into the woods. Michael also stated that when she saw someone driving by, that she called out for help, and that he panicked, and that he hit her in the head multiple times, and that he said, shut up, and that he in that moment decided to kill her. So he slit her throat with a knife. So first he buried her under some leaves, and then he was just like freaking out, I think, then digged up a really deep grave and buried her there, but he had to move her first. So that same night, he tried to get rid of her belongings while he was so allegedly in Amsterdam using cocaine. He spreaded all of her belongings as far away as he could for an hour or so, and then he went back. He spread her stuff in the woods of Soest. So the next evening, he borrowed his mom's car. He digs Anna's body up from under the leaves, put her in the car, washed her with chlor, and buried her again in the new grave that he digged. He let the car be cleaned in Amersfoort like nothing happened. He brought back the car like, thanks for letting me borrow it. But the thing is, Anna was also wearing like jewelry in the last selfie that she sent it, and they never found her jewelry again. She also wore a necklace that was really special to her. They never found any of the jewelry, and when they asked, he said that he didn't know where they were. In that same period of time, Michael just went to his grandparents like nothing was wrong, like, look at me, you know, getting my life back together and visiting you. He also went to visit a lot of sex workers now, not prostitutes, sex workers. And he visited his girlfriend who was now pregnant. You know, the girl that I told you about who didn't want us to have anything to do with him, that girlfriend. First, they wanted to give Michael a life sentence, but a life sentence means that you can get like the 25 years as a max and then have early parole. And that is what they wanted to prevent. Like, with this guy, you should not do early parole. So the court in Utrecht decided on the 17th of July in 2018, Michael would have been sentenced for 28 years in prison with preventive detention, which is the same thing that I told you about earlier, the taping S thing, where they can still make it longer and longer and longer as long as they think it's necessary. Michael also had to pay 137,354 euros and 65 cents to the family. I'm also like, when these numbers are being named, like, how is someone in jail going to pay for that? I know it's like a visa or a party in the jails here in Holland, but how is someone paying that? That is something that I'm not sure about. So if you know how that works, please let me know, because I think the family should eventually get this money, even though it doesn't bring their daughter back whatsoever. But I'm just really curious how people make sure that the family gets this money. Now the court also stated that Michael is suffering from borderline, an antisocial aspect. Like, I don't know about you, but I didn't heard any of these things earlier while professionals were looking into him. Like, they observed him for weeks and none of the people were talking about any of these disorders. The court also stated that they wanted to lock him up as long as they could because they didn't want him to go out of jail untreated. So this case led to a lot of uproar, like people were talking about it constantly, because how could have this happened and could have this been prevented? In my personal opinion, yes, because there were a lot of mistakes being made, especially in the jail, in the court, in the clinic. Like, a lot of people were just like not having their best day, I think, and just deciding that this is okay and this will never get out of hand, and then it does. So one positive thing that this horrible event did was that people are not easily putting on early parole anymore. Only if they're in their last part of their sentence, and if they really show that they can go out, they can go out and get on early parole, but not as easily as he went out. In 2018, Minister Ingrid van Engelshoven of the Education, Science and Culture Department gave out the first Anne Faber scholarship. The House of Utrecht started with that scholarship that year, and they named it after Anne Faber because they wanted her name to pursue in a very positive way. And this is like the cultural aspect of the department. And since Anna's dream was to become a business leading lady, they decided to name it after her, and I think that is a beautiful gesture. I also think that her family can be super proud of themselves. They just opened themselves up to the media. I would have been like, don't talk to me, I don't want to talk about it, but I love that they also tried to put her in a positive light, because a lot of things were only about Michael P. and how could this happen and what went wrong and yada yada yada, and putting in all kinds of directions. But it was almost like Anna was being washed out, so they tried to have this portrait of her, and they said all beautiful things about her and what they liked about her and what reminded her of her. And I think that is such a beautiful gesture. And her mom also has this tree that she planted, Anna, when she was a younger girl, and she later on, when she first gave the first scholarship to a woman, she told everyone in the room, like, take one of the seeds and plant it. And her dad also gave a lot of interviews, and her uncle wrote a book about it. And the thing that stood out to me was that when people picked up the book, they were like, hey, this is this case. And they would just look at their partner or their friends, and this awkward thing was going on. Like, people want to talk about this case, but at the same time, I think people find it so horrible to talk about that it's almost like that people are ashamed of that they want to talk about this, that they want to discuss this, so they always put that book down. So it didn't went, in my opinion, as well as it could have gone. This is only observation of the airport, but I don't know how it went in other bookstores. But that was something that stood out to me, and I didn't dive into this case at that time. I just picked up some pieces and then saw this happening, and I was like, why is this happening? Like, there were people who were like really coming into the store and they were like, I want this book, where's this book? But there were also people, like I already said, like, they looked at people and they just wanted to talk about it. They almost wanted to pick it up, but then they were like, oh, but I'm going on vacation and you're looking weird at me right now, I'm not gonna do it. But I chose this case to talk about because I really want to know what your thoughts are. Like, could this been prevented? Do you think it's the clinic fault? Do you think like the people in court already made a big mistake by lowering his sentence while they first gave him 16 years and then lowered it? I'm just really curious about what you guys think of this case, and I hope you want me to do more of these videos. I'm gonna do more of these videos. This is my first time, so bear with me. It's really hard for me to try to find the right English words for the Dutch things, because some things just can't be translated. That's the same with gezellig. It can't be translated. It's a Dutch thing. So I just want to thank you for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment box down below, and I will see you in my next. Bye.